Hello everyone, my name is Hope Walker and I am doing this video to share my amazing experience going through the emotional detox. I know you're like, what the heck is an emotional detox? What does that look like? I said the same thing as well when I was going through it. And what the experience was like for me personally was an experience where I got an opportunity to look in the mirror at the ugly parts of me, at the broken pieces that I was just bearing. I was a very broken young woman, and I was in a place where I just did not know who I was. I was dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of grief, a lot of bitterness, and a lot of emotional baggage. I know many of you may be looking like, emotional baggage? You're like, you look young, how could that be? But a lot of traumas that we've experienced is linked to our childhood and our upbringing and things we have been exposed to in the environments that we were placed in to sprout into adults. And when I came in contact with this detox, emotional detox, it was back in 2017. So I was around 25 going on 26 years old. And so around that time, I had just lost my parents. My mom died in 2015. My father died in 2016. So what it felt like to me was like I was going through cycles of grief, cycles of pain. And to be quite honest, it was just too much for me. It showed out in how I looked. It showed in how I carried myself. It showed out, it seeped into my relationships and how I did relationship. It seeped into a lot of my values, and it seeped into, like a lot of decision making and choices that I made at that time. If you were to meet Hope back in 2017, you would have noticed that I was a woman in search of, something to heal my pain, something to just, I don't even know how to explain it, but I was dealing with a lot. And so I came in contact with the emotional detox through one of my mothers in the faith. And I had no idea what the heck the journey was going to be like, what the journey was going to entail. I just knew that I was in a desperate place in my life where I was unhappy with where I was, and I did not want to continue journeying in that way. And so I didn't have much knowledge of what it was, but I was desperate. And so I was like, I'm just gonna dive right in. I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to look at this as an opportunity to invest in myself, invest in my emotional wellness and well-being. And so I did just that. And so I started this journey. I started the journey back in 2017, and it opened my eyes to so many things. It opened my eyes to not only father wounds that I was dealing with, but mother wounds. For me personally, I did not want to admit that I was dealing with mother issues. I did not want to acknowledge that I was dealing with mother issues. I was born in a single parent household, and my mother raised me. And so, it was just kind of like, in my eyes and in my opinion around that time, dishonoring to say that a lot of my wounds came from my mother. It's easy to blame a father who was absent, who wasn't there, as the source to your pain and the source to your problems. However, someone who has been involved, who has journeyed with you, who has done life with you, who has what you believe have given you sacrificial love, there's no way that you can fix your mouth to say, my mom hurt me. I think society has taught us that. I think just culture has taught us that, because the mother role is just such a role that is highly praised and highly honored. And so to see your mother in a negative light, it was just such a disconnect for me. So while on this journey of the emotional fast, I was able to put those things into language and into perspective for myself, like the inability to receive love, the ability to do relationships in a healthy way, being able to find value in my voice in times of conflict, in times of problems, just the inability to know who I am and be secured in who I am and my identity. Those were a lot of things that I was struggling with outside of missing my mom and missing my dad, or, feeling like I was robbed the opportunity to, actually fully invest in the relationships like I wanted to. And so for me, the emotional detox helped put language to the sources of my pain. Miss Reese has done such a tremendous job in helping so many people put language to their sources of pain, helping people identify the root cause as to why you have an attitude, or why do you look at the world the way that you look at the world, or just your identity, your purpose. And those are things that I was extremely fortunate to be able to engage in through the emotional detox. I was able to identify identity issues. I was able to identify I had mother wounds. I was able to identify I had father wounds. In fact, I had the opportunity to remember a time that I was molested as a child. And so what's so interesting and so intriguing is just how the human mind suppresses pain, and how the human mind would literally tuck away something that was so traumatic, so painful, so hurtful, will tuck it away in the backside of your mind, and you will continue doing life as if it never happened. And so that's what I was dealing with. It's like I trained my mind to believe I never experienced what I experienced when I was in the second grade. Like I trained my mind into thinking, I was never molested. And it was through the emotional detox I was able to put language to that. I was able to fully deal with that trauma, and to be quite honest, it was something I didn't want to do, but I knew it was necessary to be able to move forward and continue on this journey of healing, which is a lifelong journey. It is not something where, I personally believe someone can say, I'm fully healed from it, because your life is like an onion. You have so many layers to things that you've experienced and things that you've engaged in that has played with your frame and your intermingling of who you are. And it's literally a lifetime journey where you're unraveling, you're peeling back this onion to deal with the many layers and many cycles of hurt and pain and situations that you've placed yourself in. And so if it wasn't for this detox, I wouldn't be able to say this. I wouldn't be able to walk in the awareness that I now walk in. And also, besides the emotional aspect, I was able to see, really assess that you know, I went to school to be a registered nurse, so I am a nurse. And I remember going through the emotional detox. I've gone through it 3 times. I believe on the second time, I was able to see how, like, making my decision to become a nurse was from a place of fear. I knew when I started college, I wanted to be a pre-med major. I wanted to go to school to become a doctor. However, I looked at how many sciences and math and just schooling that I had to go through, and I got completely discouraged because I remembered times when I was a child and I struggled with math and I struggled with science. And I did come from a home where my mom wasn't as patient with teaching us certain concepts. And so that confidence to look at something like pre-med and say, I'm going to take it on, I'm going to, do this journey, it was not really cultivated in me. So I remember telling my uncle, like, I don't think pre-med is for me. Is there something else in the healthcare field that I should do or I could do? Because I knew I wanted to do something in the medical field where I had an opportunity to help others. And so he told me about nursing. And so I read up on it, and I took on the journey, and now I'm a nurse. However, going through the emotional detox, I was able to see, that I made that decision from a place of fear, lack of confidence, and just low self-esteem. I shortchanged myself. Now, being a nurse is an honorable position. It is an honorable career. I do not regret the route on how I took on the journey or just the journey in general. I love being a nurse. It is truly an honor. On the other hand, I feel like it was something just to fill an area, but it truly didn't fulfill me. I did nursing for 3.5 years, and while I was doing it, it got to the point where I was like, there has to be something else. There has to be something else more than this. And that was because I allowed my perception of how I saw myself, self-image, self-worthiness, all of these things to shape me into believing that this particular career was for me when there was another career that was out there for me. And so through the emotional detox, I was able to assess that, diagnose that, and then go before, go in prayer, because I am a believer. And during that time, I was just wanting something more. Like I was mentioning, I wasn't feeling fulfilled in my position. And so I, prayed about it, and I saw that I was actually supposed to be a doctor. I laughed at that. I really did, because I was like, it's crazy how I started school. That was my major, and that's what I knew I wanted to do. And I completely changed my mind because I was afraid. I allowed fear to literally stifle that dream. And so now fast forward, in 2018, was when I discovered that I wanted to go back to school for something else. And that something else is naturopathic medicine. So even though I am a nurse, I am also a full-time naturopathic medical student. And so I think if it wasn't for, the emotional detox helping me through this process, and Miss Reese really, really instilling a lot of, just courage, encouragement, and just that thrust, that push, I don't think I would have been able to take on this journey. And so, the emotional detox has just been a tremendous investment to me, blessing to me. And I believe the woman that I am, and that people have been engaging with since I've done this detox, is because of this detox. And also, not only the work that I invested in, but just the many relationships that I was able to formulate through this space. And when I say space, I mean a safe place for you to unwind, unravel the good, the bad, and the ugly. The biggest takeaway from being a part of this journey is I now walk in awareness. I walk in self-awareness. I'm able to notice, when something makes me upset. Okay, why is that making me upset? Or if something is making me emotional, being more in tune with my emotions. I believe through the emotional detox, I was allowed to walk in emotional intelligence, the why behind that feeling, and how anger is a secondary emotion and not just it being anger, but what are you truly angry about? So, I truly invite every man, every woman, even child to really go through this process called emotional detox with Miss Reese. You will never, ever regret it. It is just the best investment that you can give yourself, that you can do for yourself. And the other thing that I wanted to say is, if you don't deal with your emotional traumas, your emotional pain, a lot of these things can carry physical manifestations in your body. They can take on heart issues. You can take on autoimmune issues. You can take on cancer. If you do not deal with the emotional aspect of who you are. And so that emotional aspect is your mind, your will, your emotions. If you don't deal with the toxic aspects of those things, that would become toxic to your body. So think about just the kidney. The human kidney is created to literally be a filtering system to toxins and waste. So if our kidneys go bad, we are holding on to toxins, to waste, things that can truly be a detriment to our health. That is the same way. That is the same thing when it comes to not dealing with emotional issues. Everyone wants to get fit. Everyone wants to look their best. Everyone wants to work on the exterior, but we're dying inside. We're fading inside. We're imploding inside. And I think that is the part that we all need to invest in order to properly illuminate what we look like physically. We can fix the wrinkles, with Botox, we can do all of these things. However, who wants to be near an emotionally unstable person, or a person who is just completely miserable? They're negative all the time. Who wants to be around that? That within itself, is not attractive. So you can be the most beautiful and the most elegant and the most poised woman in the world, but if you're miserable, ugly, and bitter inside, no one would be around you. So this is why it's important to invest in your emotional health. And also being mindful that the mind and the body does work together. If one is out of sync, the other will later on have to compensate for that and will later on die as well. So I hope that this video gave you some information and it just challenges you to invest in yourself and to invest in the emotional detox. So it is a pleasure talking with all of you, and thank you so much.